Bessie Coleman was born in January 26, 1892. She was the first woman of African American descent to hold a pilot license. She was raised in Texas as a sharecropping family. Coleman began attending school in Waxahachie, a small school, at the age of 6. She had to walk 4 miles each day to her segregated one-room school where she loved to read and established herself as an outstanding math student. She completed her elementary education in that school. Consistently, Coleman's daily schedule of school, tasks, and church was hindered by the cotton harvest. At the age of 12, Bessie was accepted into the Missionary Baptist Church School on scholarship. When she turned 18, she took her savings and enrolled in the Oklahoma Colored Agricultural and Langston University. She completed one term before her money ran out and she returned home. There, she built up an early enthusiasm for flying. Unfortunately, African Americans, Native Americans, and ladies had no flight preparing openings in the United States. However, she was so stubborn, thinking that nothing can stop her to pursue her dreams.
In 1916, at the age of 24, Coleman moved to Chicago, Illinois, where she lived with her siblings. In Chicago, she functioned as a manicurist at the White Sox barbershop. There, she heard stories from pilots getting back from World War I of flying during the war. She accepted the second position at a chili parlor at a side of cash in order to become a pilot.
As American flight school of their time conceded neither ladies nor black, Robert Abbott, an author and the distributor of the Chicago Defender, urged her to study abroad. Abbott advanced Coleman's journey in his paper, and she got money-related sponsorship from banker Justin Benga and the Defender.
Coleman took a French language class at the Berlitz School in Chicago and afterward headed out to Paris on November 20, 1920, so she could win her pilot license. She figured out how to fly a Newport 82 biplane with a controlling framework that comprised of a vertical stick, the thickness of a slugger before the pilot, and a rudder bar under the pilot's feet.
On June 15, 1921, Coleman turned into one of the famous black women and first African American to acquire an aviation license. She was also one of the first black men to obtain worldwide licensed pilot from Fédération Aéronautique Internationale. Resolved to clean her abilities, Coleman went through the following 2 months taking class from a French expert pilot close to Paris, and in September 1921, she sailed for America. She became a media sensation when she returned to the United States. With the age of commercial flights still a decade or more in the future, Coleman quickly realized that in order to make a living as a civilian aviator, she would have to become a barnstorming stunt fighter, performing dangerous tricks, and then still early technology of airplanes for paying audience.
But to succeed in this highly competitive arena, she would need an advanced lesson and more extensive repertoire. Returning to Chicago, Coleman could not find anyone willing to teach her. So in February 1922, she sailed again for Europe. She spent the next 2 months in France completing an advanced course of aviation, then left in Netherlands to meet with Anthony Fokker, one of the most distinguished aircraft designers.
She also traveled in Germany, where she visited the Fokker Corporation and received an additional training from one of the company's chief pilots. She then returned to the United States to launch her career in exhibition flying.
Queen Bess, as she was identified, was deeply famed throughout for the subsequent 5 years, hospitable to vital occasions and often interviewed by newspapers. She was appreciated by each blacks and whites. She primarily flew a Curtiss JN-4 Cheney biplanes and different flying machine that had been armed force surplus flying machine left over from war. She showed up in American Air Show on September 3, 1992 at an occurrence concerning veterans of all Dark 369 Army Unit regiments of World War I. Control at Curtis Field on loan close to island New York City and supported by her companion Epic and therefore the Chicago Defender paper. The show charged Coleman as the world's most outstanding lady and featured aerial displays by 8 different American ice pilots and a jump by black parachutist Herbert Sullivan. 6 weeks later, she came back to Chicago to deliver a surprising demonstration of daredevil maneuvers, including figure 8 loops and near ground dips to an outsized and eager crowd at the Gameport airport. But the fun of acrobatic and therefore the administration of cheering crowds were solely a part of Coleman's dream. Coleman nearly lost sight of her childhood vow to at least one day amounts to something. As knowledgeable aviatrix, Coleman would typically be criticized by the press for her time-serving nature and therefore the flamboyant vow she delivered to show exhibition flying. However, she additionally quickly gained a name as talented and daring pilot who would stop at nothing to complete a troublesome stunt. In Los Angeles, she broke a leg and 3 ribs when her plane stalled and crashed on February 22, 1923.
Committed to promoting aviation and combating racism, Coleman spoke to audiences across the country concerning the pursuits of aviation and goals for African Americans. She fully refused to participate in aviation events that prohibited the attending of African Americans. Through her media contacts, she was offered a job during a feature-length film titled Shadow and Sunshine to be supported by the African American Seminole Film Manufacturing Company. She fain accepted, hoping the packaging would facilitate to advance her career and supply her with the number of cash she required to determine her own school. However, upon learning that the primary scene within the film needed her to look in tattered garments with a walking stick and again her back, she refused to proceed. Clearly, Bessie walking off the film set was an announcement of principle. Opportunist though she was concerning her career, she was near associate opportunist concerning race. She had no intention of perpetuating the uncomplimentary image most whites had of most blacks.
Coleman would not live long enough to establish a school for young black aviators, but her pioneering achievements served as an inspiration for a generation of African American men and women. Coleman deserved to be one of the most admirable black Americans who fought against barriers. It is something that a prominent leader do with no hesitation. She refused to do setbacks because she knows that someone's gotta do it. From poverty to success, she knows what exactly needs to be done. She plans to achieve her dream by collecting little amount of cash from jobs so she can reach up to flight school at France so just to get a pilot license respite from suffering in an era of racial discrimination holds stronger. Bessie Coleman died with an act of heroism, leading young black Americans to a path of righteousness. She gave hope to black lives to fight back. She knows the consequences, but she still fights to pursue dreams. Her action was very remarkable that both black and white admired.